On this channel, we've covered lots of spooky digital horror. Art that people have created. Stories and legends surrounding internet culture and media, as well as much, much more. A key point that I always try to emphasize in my videos is just how unique digital horror is, and how the space right now is incredibly conducive to creativity. Not a single project I've covered has looked the same, and there are so many unique tools out there for producing great art, all of which have the power to tell stories which intrigue and scare. I don't want to quibble much over the precise definitions of digital versus analog horror or what level of audience involvement constitutes an ARG, but what I actually want to do is just talk about projects for what they are, bringing ones which make my spine chill a little bit to you guys, and offering my thoughts and theories about the ethos of the art as a whole. And that's exactly what we're going to be doing today. We'll be taking a look at a really cool new project that's been coming from Instagram and TikTok. But before I tell you what it is, I first want to let you know that if you enjoyed this video, I recently covered another digital horror series from an Instagram creator, which I highly encourage you check out after this video. Before you head that way, you should also subscribe to my channel, so you can catch more uploads just like this one. The series that we're going to be looking at today is called Greetings from Adamville. It started up recently this year and has amassed over 100,000 followers on Instagram, and about 17,000 on TikTok. It's still very new, so I encourage you to follow on either of those platforms so you can catch new uploads yourselves and make your own theories. To introduce us to this project, I think we should watch the first upload to get an idea of the art style and what sinister things might be going on in the small town of Adamville. As usual, we'll be going over each upload in brief, highlighting key details, and then theorizing at the end. So stay tuned.
This is an important message from the Adamville Fire Department. Got a pesky neighbor that's driving you up a wall? A plot of land that would look better as a charred canvas? Or maybe you just want to watch something burn from the comfort of your own home? At Adamville Fire Department, we understand. Dial BURN and our expert team will ignite your desires into a blazing reality.
This video remains one of my favorite uploads, and it's just really well presented all around. Beyond that though, it's here that we get to set the scene for a lot of what's going on in this town. Let's take a minute to appreciate the art style as well. The creator of the series is using Midjourney, a generative AI program. It's become very popular, and though many people aren't fans of AI-generated art right now, it's used tastefully. I actually think the use of AI works to this project's benefit, not detriment, adding to the uncanny factor of the stuff we're seeing. That distinct art style will remain present for the rest of the series. This art is marked by an Atom Punk 50s feel, with some hyper-normal elements superimposed. It's very reminiscent of the Fallout series to me. Another detail I noticed shown frequently in the project is the presence of masks. There's practical reasons for having these, and they do actually add to the weirdcore vibes of the story. However, I think it may have lore implications later on down the line. Then there's the plot of this video. It's apparent that we're watching a commercial for firemen who, in this universe, do quite the opposite of putting out fires. This paints a picture of a world with some semblance of normality, suggesting people work and live and lead family lives, but that this world is also a perverse alternative to our own. To me, it suggests there was a societal collapse, or that society simply never existed the way it does for us. Maybe that people with more money and resources can get whatever they want done, in this case, burning down people's homes, because of a lack of social order specifically. This idea will inform our later discussion, but for now, it's time to move on.
At Biff Smart, our meat department offers selections of the finest meats in town. Our locally sourced meat is so fresh you can still feel its pulse. You won't find cuts like ours anywhere else. Biff Smart, you could stay forever.
Here, we watch a commercial for Biff Smart, a butcher in Adamville. Without overanalyzing, we could say pretty confidently that this video is referencing cannibalism. The general air of this store is creepy, seeming a bit too perfect and too clean, while the ominous track and narration plays in the background. Then of course we see the outright creepy shots of whatever goes on behind the scenes, where humans are suspended like cattle, wearing animal masks, presumably becoming the source of food for Adamville. Something interesting I noticed in this video in particular is that when looking at the little background details in these shots for clues, as one does with projects like these, is that with this AI-generated art, they don't necessarily exist. For example, I can't really tell what these tools are. In this case, it doesn't really matter. We can pretty much tell that this is cannibalism, but I did just want to throw that out early and set the expectation. We won't go too deep into this upload yet, but we are starting to observe some themes. First off, we're starting to see the idea that people are not equal by any means in this society. Some hold jobs while others are literally eaten. The question I hope to unravel is, what exactly makes this distinction? What's wrong with these people? Adamville seems to have some societal organization, leading me to believe it's not just a survival of the fittest free-for-all. Rather, there's some deeper underlying cause here. I think it's time to move forward with the third upload.
Attention, residents of Adamville. A red boy has been spotted in your vicinity. A lockdown is now in place. Keep doors locked, close all blinds, and arm yourself. Keep silent and wait for further instruction. Should you hear the echoes of a child's laughter that is unfamiliar to you, understand that it is too late to be saved. May Providence be with you all.
Now, I want to say really quick that this was the first upload I ever saw, leading me to this project, and I just think it's incredible. The art and the newscaster and everything is just awesome. Anyways, also I'm going to point out one of the advantages of posting uploads like this on Instagram is that you get amazing comments like these. What we're essentially seeing with this is an emergency broadcast warning of a Hellboy, some sort of demonic creature being spotted in Adamville. While we don't get a full breakdown of its capabilities, it is implied that they're extremely dangerous, especially with the comment that it's too late to be saved, suggesting that the town just isn't even bothering to fight back against these. This is the first of a few monster warnings, as I'll just broadly call them, from this project. At this point, lore-wise, there isn't much to extrapolate from this video, besides the fact that there are supernatural creatures in this town that aren't human. But honestly, who is in this series? We'll talk more about these creatures when it comes to understanding the story later on.
Attention residents of Adamville. A mass disappearance has been reported near Jupiter Lake. Reports suggest these incidents may involve a merswine. These creatures are known to mimic the appearance and voices of a victim's loved one in distress. Should you see someone resembling a family member near the lake who should not be there, do not approach and report to the authorities.
In yet another emergency broadcast, or rather, in this case, public service announcement, another monster has been spotted. This one being a merswine. Basically a hog/walrus, I don't know, it's kinda cute looking. The creature can also apparently mimic voices and draws its victims to the water with this tool. There isn't much to say here with this upload, besides the name drop of a location, Jupiter Lake. That'll become important later on. The next 3 uploads are all part of a sort of mini-series in this project. So I'm going to play all 3 of them at once, and then we'll discuss what's going on in this annual bloom. I think this way it'll make the context a little bit better.
Attention residents of Adamville, the annual bloom is upon us. This year, one fortunate resident will embrace destiny by consuming the sacred seed, blossoming into a living tribute for our designer. Join us in celebrating the cycle of life and renewal. Attention residents of Adamville, an urgent update regarding the annual bloom. The sacred seed has unexpectedly spread. If you notice unexpected blooming, please report this immediately. Dimglow Labs is actively working on a containment solution. Your swift action is crucial to help us control this spread. Stay alert. Attention, residents of Adamville. Recent circumstances have led to a significant decline in population. To address this, it is now imperative for households with fewer than 8 offspring to visit the family tree. There, you are required to select an embryo to nurture and grow as part of your family. Non-compliance with this mandate will result in severe punishment at the discretion of the designer.
There is so much to unpack here. And while we can absolutely say that we've stayed with the theme, the story absolutely took a turn on the whole. In the first upload, we see this cultish practice of a town resident being selected to eat a seed, causing flowers to sprout from them in what is likely an extremely painful death. It appears to be compulsory for the entire town, though we still aren't sure by what methods the leaders of Adamville, if any, make this happen. A key detail mentioned in all of this is that it's done as a tribute to the town's designer, some deity perhaps. We still can't quite say. Is this mysterious plant the key to whatever strangeness is happening in the town of Adamville? Or maybe just a symptom of this underlying affliction? In the second part of the Bloom segment, we see that the ritual has gone terribly wrong. Confirming my thoughts that the seed uses humans for flower growth almost parasitically, the broom has spread far beyond its intended sole vessel. We see many instances of infected residents, all blossoming into flowers, cacti, and other plants. We're also treated to the name of an organization incredibly crucial to the story, Dim Glow Labs, who are working to contain the spread, presumably by burning all they can. Are Dim Glow Labs the de facto state in Adamville? Are they some of the last normal humans in this place, looking to pull Adamville out of its state? Further uploads will help us unravel that new mystery. The final upload in this segment is, in my opinion, a significant milestone for the project, and to me, honestly, if I were to pinpoint a spot to call the end of Season 1, it would be this right here. I know that's not really how it works, but it just felt right. It appears the events that we've watched unfold have been unfortunate, to say the least, even by Adamville standards. Referencing the previous incidents, the news broadcaster suggests that the town needs to repopulate. Finally, he directs residents to go to a tree which grows human embryos, ordering families to adopt these things. So if you didn't know where babies come from, now you do. We hear a little bit more about this designer and learn that it can punish people, leading me to perhaps think it's more of a cult leader or local warlord or something and less of a mystical deity. But again, we haven't seen it, so we can't be quite sure. Though we could definitely spend a lot of time talking about this 3-part upload, I'm going to move us forward and theorize a little bit later.
Old Jed, with a curse so grim, shake his hand and limbs grow dim. A hand or foot gone in a blink, dare not touch him lest you shrink.
In the next upload, we're back to looking at a new monster, this one being called Old Jed, who is basically Pyramid Head from Silent Hill. There isn't much lore developed here besides this creature being shown off, and if I'm understanding correctly, touching Old Jed will lead your limbs to liquefy into this sludge. We're going to move on because this next entry is very important.
Dim Glow Labs, our groundbreaking reanimation project, offers a second chance to reunite with lost loved ones. Using advanced technology, our skilled team restores vitality and essence, bringing departed family members back to life. Reclaim cherished moments and rekindle family bonds with Dim Glow Labs.
Finally, we hear a little bit more about Dim Glow Labs. In what is apparently an advertisement, we learned that Dim Glow Labs can reanimate corpses for a price, to some degree of living again, though what we see looks very zombified and is probably just a husk of some person that can move and breathe. Though this does establish some degree of what Dim Glow Labs does, we can't really see their capabilities, how big they are, how many employees they have, or if they really have any control of the world at large. Clearly though, science has taken a different direction than that of our world, but that's all we can really conclude right now. I'm going to keep pushing to what's currently the third to last upload.
Attention residents of Adamville. There is suspicion of a widow in the area. It is believed that the widow preys on its victims under the guise of a wet nurse, offering her bosom to mothers in need, only to imprison her targets and feed off of their milk herself. It has been reported that the only way to ward off a widow is for a mother to ingest their offspring's cord at the time of plucking. New mothers should exercise extreme caution.
In perhaps the weirdest video yet, we see another creature presented, this one being called a widow. I won't rehash what was said about it, it was pretty clear from the video, but I will point out that eating this cord is a bit suspicious. Assuming this is the cord from the embryo tree mentioned earlier, could this be a scare tactic to force people into eating these cords? Having some sort of negative effect? Perhaps spreading bloom or something? Not entirely sure, but it's just something I picked up on immediately.
Peter, Peter, pumpkin eater, had a wife and couldn't keep her. Put her in a pumpkin shell, and there he kept her very well.
To be honest, I can't entirely tell what's going on in this one. The music is based off an old folk rhyme where Peter loses his first wife and kills his second. Though in this case, it appears perhaps Peter's wife wanted to escape him, maybe they were in an abusive relationship or something, and he imprisoned her in a pumpkin. In this shot, it looks like maybe he just chained her up and then put a pumpkin on her head for the hell of it, but then she turns into this abomination. Did the pumpkin perhaps expose her to the bloom? Before we dig too much into that one, I'll move on to the final upload, which was put out just this week.
Starving for adventure? Flip on over to Burger Babies and enjoy our mouth-watering meat. Discover games that will keep everyone entertained for hours. And have a blast in our indoor playground. Burger Babies, where fun is born.
The Burger Babies upload is perhaps light on lore, but no less terrifying whatsoever. Besides just being insanely weird, like rolling around in ground meat weird, I do think there's another sinister cannibalistic implication here. We don't see it directly, but similar to Biff Smart, the presentation here is just a little too creepy. Maybe some kids just go missing in this meat pit and end up becoming food. I mean, the name is literally Burger Babies. Maybe some embryos from the tree are discarded and, well, are put to a different use. Pyromaniacs, paranormal pathology, and pumpkins. We've got a lot of weird stuff going on here. It may be a lot, but we're getting to my favorite part of any video, the theorizing. Let's start with some broad strokes about the town of Adamville, and chip away further and further at the material until we have some sense of story. Adamville's society is quite strange. There's obviously a town, and people have some degree of autonomy, leading normal-ish lives, going to the store, having families and such. From that, it leads me to suggest one of two paths. Either there was all this weird stuff going on for all of human history, and they still developed society, or human society was normal up to a point, and then some event happened which made this town so weird. The first option seems so unreasonable that I tend to, broadly speaking, believe the latter. That all the residents of Adamville experienced something which led them to developing this strange society, with these monsters and cultish practices. Then there's the elephant in the room. Where you have Adam Punk, you will always find one thing: nuclear weapons. That's a defining part of Adam Punk art like this. Though I have no direct evidence for this, I feel as if the creator of this series may be hinting at a parallel version of the United States in the 1950s. Given the clothing and details, the use of English, and a literal name-dropped location in California, we can assume that Adamville is an American town, taking place probably sometime around the 1950s in a parallel timeline. So then, what went wrong in this world which led to such craziness? My first suggestion is that we're in this situation due to nuclear war and nuclear fallout. In lots of media, with SpongeBob being a famous example, nuclear war causing genetic mutations is kind of a one-size-fits-all theory. It's pretty easy when things get weird to just say that nuclear mutations cause people to act the way they do. And so while I don't want to make it that simple, I think it's a fairly good start. So for my first theory, I want to suggest that in an alternate United States in the 1950s, nuclear war broke out against the Soviet Union. The United States was left in some degree of ruin, though people survived. A lot similar to the Fallout games, these survivors created their own towns and factions, each with different rules and such, reacting to the new creatures spawned out of the nuclear wasteland. In this case, widows, merswine, and hellboys were all examples of these. Now we need to talk about the humans themselves. I believe that the radiation affected them mentally. Perhaps the great amount of stress from, well, the apocalypse, induced a form of mass hysteria, and also with radiation poisoning, it kind of just changed people, creating this perverse society. Adamville, to be specific, is a small town in Northern California. There could be other settlements like this which could be better or worse off, but we just don't know. I think this here is a good explanation for why the story is set up the way it is. I'm curious as to why everyone wears masks. Perhaps it's a cultural thing that developed over time in this society, maybe due to facial deformities, given that radioactive exposure can cause burns, and also maybe birth defects. Maybe this is why people started wearing masks. So we have a post-apocalyptic society where people are all crazy and deal with mutated creatures on the daily. How then do we explain the bloom? And where does Dimglow Labs fit into all this? Not to keep using Fallout as a deuterocanonical source, but I see enough similarities to it that I do keep making comparisons. Dimglow Labs could be based off corporations and scientists from the Fallout series, which, admittedly, I don't know a ton about, but basically there was research being conducted before and after nuclear war, and Dimglow Labs could be an organization left from before the nuclear war that survived. We really only know 2 things about the lab. They have some sort of authority. I get this from the second Bloom upload where we see this clip.
Dimglow Labs is actively working on a containment solution.
To me, the way this is phrased implies that either Dimglow is cleaning up their own mess or they act as de facto public safety and government. Secondly, they have some degree of bioengineering knowledge, given that they can kinda bring people back to life. This also suggests to me that they're making products and making money, further advancing the idea that they're powerful. We have no direct evidence if they're nefarious or not, nor can we tell yet if they existed before or after nuclear war. What we can say, however, is that it's very possible that they're in power, and may be responsible for making some of these creatures. They could be manufacturing disasters to maintain control, and maybe with the Bloom specifically, it got out of hand. But that's a lot of extrapolating with just a little evidence. With Dimglow Labs so infrequently mentioned, we may have to put our thoughts about them on the back burner for now. Then we have the actual Bloom. It's more than just a monster, it's very significant, and I believe that it also could be another way of explaining what's going on. I'm tempted to say that the Bloom was just another irradiated mutant creature that turned into a disease like we see in the uploads, but it also could be the root cause of this. It brings me to my second, smaller theory. We see that the Bloom has different effects on different people, it's not just one plant. Perhaps this disease broke out in the town of Adamville, affecting the citizens mentally and physically, as well as animals, turning them into monstrosities. Maybe the United States government then quarantined the town to protect the world from the Bloom. Instead of a nuclear wasteland, this actually does take place in the 1950s, and we're just seeing the insides of a contained disaster, which would explain why we see the news. We can't actually get inside Adamville, but we can pick up their radio transmissions. I also think they're not necessarily mutually exclusive, but again, the information we have is sort of pushing us in the nuclear direction. Unfortunately though, that's about as far as we can go. I think the nuclear fallout and quarantine theories are good starts, but we're going to need more information to figure out what's going on in Adamville. I can promise you that if you enjoy this video, I'll be back for part 2 before the summer is done for. I'm really enjoying this project and I hope you do as well. Please make sure to give Greetings from Adamville a follow on Instagram and also subscribe to my channel so we can theorize about it once more. With that said, we've basically got through all that I have for today. I want to let you know that, per usual, there's a lot more awesome content in the oven right now, so you should stay tuned. But with regards to projects like this and a recent video specifically, we're going to be covering a lot more digital horror series from around the internet, not just YouTube. So if you're a fan of lesser known projects or projects from platforms besides this one, you should absolutely subscribe to my channel. Further, you should consider joining my Discord so that you can be a part of the Seed Butter community and help pick future topics and search for art projects like this one. Thanks again for your attention, and I hope you all have a great night. See you soon.